All right, you're set to go.
Okie doke, thanks. So call to order the Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of June 29th, 2022. Start with roll call. Ricky Riojas.
Here.
Savannah McDonald.
Here.
Joel Ireland.
Here.
And Jen Mulder on here. So we're all present. And Carol Griffith and Terry Majewski are absent today. Next item on the agenda, number 2, is the approval of the legal action report minutes for the meetings of June 2nd and June 9th. And anybody want to make a motion to approve these?
I move to approve. Oh, joke. Sorry, you can do it.
I'll move approval. Joel.
Second?
This is Ricky. I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll vote on the approval. Ricky?
Yes.
Savannah?
Aye.
Joel?
Yes.
And Jan? Aye. So the motion passes 4-0. And next on the agenda is the Historic Preservation Zone review cases. And the first one, actually the only one on the agenda, is HPZ 22-017, 492 South Convent Avenue. Jody, did you have anything to say in introduction of this case?
Yes, so this project was heard by Barrio Historico twice, most recently on June 13th, and they made a recommendation to approve it as presented, and it was approved 3-0.
Okay, thank you. And looks like someone's here, maybe here to present.
Yes, that's Jesus from Dust Architects.
Hi, Jesus, are you prepared to present for this case?
Yes, I am. How's everyone doing?
Pretty good, thank you.
Let me share screen here.
Well, Jesus is getting ready to share the screen. Back on the minutes, I just had a question. You approved both the 2nd and the 9th, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was okay since they were listed together.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, and I mentioned them both, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. No, thanks for checking.
All right. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes.
Perfect. And can you see the screen?
yes.
All right. Today we have 492 South Convent. It's a small project remodel, and we've been working with the client for some time to find what sort of remodel for her. She's a single woman living in here, retired, and she's had this house for about 30 years. It is a row house, transformed Sonoran style, and it's located between just south of Kennedy and north of, I believe that's 17th on Convent Avenue. I'm gonna just quickly zoom into this site plan here, if I can find my mouse. Sorry here, trying to navigate. All right. So in this aerial view, we have the existing house here, and that's an original early 1900s. At some point, this was added on, which I heard was a little cafe at one point. Previous owners had then extended an adobe addition here, and that is all existing. And there is a framed porch that had got it added on in about 2 consecutive times. We don't we're unclear when, but Jody's maps show that they were within the period of significance. This add-on is just under 600 square feet. It's 2 series of porches that I'll show you in photos a little later. But I just kind of wanted to get the sense of sort of the complexities and what we're dealing with. This project is looking to propose to add a primary bedroom on the back end of the existing adobe and proposing to demolish the framed porches that were enclosed over the years. So development zone, we're at the interior, as I mentioned, between Kennedy and 17th. Most everything on this block is transformed Sonoran row houses, with a few exceptions here and there. A little more detailed look at the property. Images on the big image on the left is the front as you approach. It had operated prior to this owner over 30 years ago as a duplex when she purchased it, but she's been transforming it into a single family residence. It still holds 2 meters, 2 addresses, 2 electrical boxes, some of which she's hoping to streamline. With that construction over time, when I get to the floor plan, you'll see that the duplex sort of split up the living arrangements. As it is now, there is no bedroom per code, meaning she doesn't have her egress access. And when she gets this appraised for refinances, she's having difficulties with the banks to value this at some point because there is no technical bedroom, even though there's plenty of rooms there. The images on the bottom are shots of the 2 add-on porches. And I'll see if I can highlight that here. We believe this one was added on first in that section there. And then this back one that's still partially open was added on at a certain date. So as you can see, in typical fashion, it started with a low pitch roof and then it got shallower and even lower. And when you're inside, the floor steps down. She'd like to remedy that as she's getting older in age. There's a lack of access to daylight and the steps are a little bit cumbersome for her in there. And so part of the remodel is to level out the floor as one, finish floor plane inside. As we do this, we have height issues. The very back porch is already below 7.6 as habitable space. As we raise it, that height gets shorter. And so in the many ways we've studied it with her and her budget and her lifestyle needs, it's becoming more apparent that the project, the property, and her lifestyle would benefit from the removal of these enclosed framed additions. That's the bulk of the scope of work. We're moving the kitchen from one room to another, and then also remodeling the bathroom. So there's some plumbing work and relocating water heaters, etc. Zoom into this plan on the left. This is the existing condition. We've hatched the portion that we're proposing to demolish. With the wall thicknesses, you can see that at least part of the owner's ethos was she'd like to preserve the adobe. We don't want to touch that. And in fact, in demolishing the porch and the sloped roof structures, we will have to stabilize the existing adobe. We're proposing CMU bond beams. And then in that, also raising the height of that add-on as well. As Jody mentioned, we had 2 reviews with Barrio. I'll share with you the first option. We're trying to just what we thought was minimally add on and make it integral. So we were adding this addition of a bathroom that then made this long extension, but with conversations with Barrio and sort of the desire to make the new and the old express themselves separately, we revisited that. We also had proposed in that one to modify these existing historic windows. Where did my mouse go? right here. But we had decided not to touch those, so they're going to stay as is. After meeting with Barrio the first time, the revised plan looks like this. We switched around some of the arrangement inside. We expressed the new, which is the highlighted in blue, as the bedroom. It's a little larger mass, both in plan and in elevation. We couldn't really justify or distinguish the difference between the CMU bond beam reinforcing. So we're proposing that that plaster and that work be finished to match the existing house, to sort of be absorbed into the historic look and feel, while the new addition in blue will be a sanded texture, stucco. The sort of diagramming, this was more, I think, for catered towards the Barrio, and looking at the existing adobe back tucked in this diagram, if you can see my mouse. That's on the 0 lot line, sharing it with the neighbor. The neighbor has a constructed wall and fence that is 12 feet plus, up to 16 feet tall. And her neighbor to the north has a 13-foot tall. The CMU bond beam reinforcement seen in green here, we're going to keep that at a 12-foot height. It just is matching the existing parapet right here. And the new addition, we were pushing up to 14 feet just to help distinguish it between old and new. This is just a quick sketch diagram of how we were going to address the historic window, keeping the same proportion on the outside, not filling it in, replacing the frame in glass to match what was there, which was wood. So making that exact same thing back, but getting insulated glass. And on the inside, we're just going to rely on finished carpentry to accommodate the kitchen. As the counter is taller than all those windows, we're just going to frame out a finished carpentry box that reframes the opening in the window. So on the outside, it looks historic, untouched, and on the inside, she'll have more of a modern feel. That is the bulk and the scope of that work.
Thank you. Commissioners who would like to comment or ask questions, clarification?
I actually just have one question. And thanks for the presentation. That was very clear. My question has to do with the stucco finish on what was or the original addition. You said that was going to match the original house, and I guess you're going to make it match the original house, but I'm wondering what the current stucco finish is and if that is distinct from the original house.
Sure, good question. Let me see, let me go back to the page with the photos.
And maybe this is Jan, if I could just add a related question, because what I understood was there's the existing addition, but then there's that bond beam and kind of squaring off the top of the existing that you were talking about not distinguishing.
Correct. I'll touch on that.
Okay, thank you.
To Savannah's question, the front of the house, the main 900 square foot adobe cube that was the transformed Sonoran, that has a smooth, really smooth lime plaster currently. What it had when she purchased it, I don't know. She's relinquished repairing and restoring this old thing until we could figure out what we can do with it. If I zoom in, you can see that it is a textured cementitious plaster, but it has some buckling at the bottom. I forgot the terminology for that, but as the adobe settling and the cement plaster sort of peeling away from it. So there's a cementitious plaster with it's not a sanded texture, but it's definitely textured. And you don't see a large swoop trowel marks, but there is some variance in how the concrete was applied. So that's its existing case. We were proposing and this kind of touches on Jan's, and let me go to that diagram if we hold these photos in our mind. So that existing addition is here. The dashed line right above is showing where the old roof line went. As we propose to remove the framed porch and the roof of this, structurally, we're integrating a CMU bond beam over the adobe. We're working with Ron Schneider at Schneider Engineering. And from that, we're adding and extending new parapet. When we do that work, we were looking to match both the bond beam addition and the existing adobe, plaster that to match the existing 900 square foot house. Then I'll finish that thought. And then in blue, the addition, the new CMU construction, we were gonna plaster with the sanded textured finish. But all the same color. Since the main house is integral lime, the white color is integral, we still have to explore what sort of white paint we're gonna paint the sanded texture on the back addition.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, that's clear now. I mean, I appreciate that the new is distinct and that the original will be maintained. But I guess I'm wondering if that middle, just to tell the story of these three, you know, kind of like sequence of construction and living, if that middle bay shouldn't, if it has some texture, it is cementitious versus lime, if it shouldn't look different than the original, you know, the front structure. I think I just would want to see some distinction there and not making that original addition match the original construction.
And I guess to my question, especially with the kind of building up the whole parapet and wall there, it just seems as much new as old.
Sorry,
Jan,
Isis.
could you clarify that? You're saying that the
Well,
bond beam
I
addition.
mean, to Savannah's point, that addition, it sounds like there's not an intent to distinguish it. And then beyond that, there's not an intent to distinguish the building up of the up to the parapet and totally transforming the roof line there. So I guess it's hard to see that as kind of trying to call it as part of the original. I guess that's the part I'm not following the rationale, except
which
just
is what
to tie it together. But
yeah, which is to Savannah's point, and this was actually a large discussion and more my education with some of the board members in Barrio. One of the board members was really wanting to express the two different textures here in that line.
yeah.
And I see where you're coming from in the sort of preservation and distinguishing, but I don't see functionally how we were to achieve it without getting a stucco joint or a control joint between, let's say, the bottom part becoming a cementitious rough texture and the top becoming something to match the new construction. We couldn't resolve that in a way that I think, one, made sense to our interpretation, two, appeased the client sensibilities, and three, looking at it, right? I think Savannah put it nice. It wants to live in between because it is, but we couldn't find a way to have it exist earnestly and functionally, right? I had water in my mind, issues of water at that joint becoming a problem where I already have two constructions of CMU on top of adobe. You know, one of the board members proposed, well, maybe we step it back and there's a step. And for me, it just kept coming back to a little bit of practical, how we're going to lay the block, how we're going to construct that parapet, and how we're going to actually make this a watertight condition in that specific case.
Well, I guess to Savannah's point, though, I mean, distinguishing, especially because it's being further modified, distinguishing that addition from the front doesn't seem to have the challenges you're talking about with the vertical or the horizontal kind of distinction.
You
Correct.
could-
That is honestly something we didn't come across.
So you could put in a simple score line. You still potentially keep your textures the same, but there would, and then this is just a suggestion, putting in a score line to demarcate where it was originally.
I actually was trying to make the score line make sense. We'd probably, our stucco guys would probably lean on the trim, on the metal that goes in there. And that was something I know we didn't want. I was trying to make the step back work, or the step proud, like have some shadow line or some distinguishing, and being more proud makes sense if the parapet can hang over. But I think as far as ours, if we have smooth lime on the main house, the existing one we're not really touching, and we have a sanded texture, if we can look at the restoration and the replastering of the centerpiece as a third texture, I think that's something our client would definitely easily get behind. And I don't have concerns of structural or water marrying the two.
Would it be possible to have, sorry, the smooth one, like the smooth finish in the center, and then the rough finish on the building that you're adding, just so that then the 3 different buildings have the 3 different finishes that Savannah was talking about? Regardless of how you solve the issue of the addition, the top you're putting on that middle building, but then at least the 3 buildings are distinguished within the time period that they were built.
Yeah, that's something I think I like rather, and is appealing, that rather than distinguishing the line and marking where it was physically, that the middle piece become a third texture as you're proposing. The main house now, that the transformed Sonoran on the left of the image here, that is a smooth lime plaster. And then we're proposing sanded on the new CMU. So in the middle could be some sort of rough cementitious plaster. I have to consult some Adobe folks on if we're taking the cement off. I know lime has a better adherence and relationship to the Adobe. And I don't know that we would want to put the cement back on, but the texture is definitely able to be different. I think we would look to make that a rough texture.
Okay, thank you.
Joel?
Yeah, thank you. So I just have a question, and it's about the other side of this wall. What is that now? I can't quite tell what's going on in the interior of that. Is that a hallway then that's going to connect the main house to the new addition? Is that what's going on the inside of the wall?
That whole new addition becomes a sort of a pass-through hallway closet bathroom.
I gotcha. Okay, and okay, I understand. Yeah, no, I think it's great. I'm ready to go. This is wonderful. Good job.
Awesome, thank you.
And I just had one more question. I think you answered it. It wasn't as clear on the plans to me, but none of the outside windows or openings are being changed in terms of how they present outside.
Correct. None of the existing ones. We had proposed it on our first pass, and through conversations with Barrio and with Jody, we decided to figure it out with carpentry on the inside on how to make that work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, and the other, it sounds like we're talking about differentiating the middle structure with a different texture from the other two. And I believe Barrio was reminded to call out the reduced setbacks as part of their motion as well. So it's probably something we should also include. Was there anything else that folks were thinking needed to be in a motion?
Well, I just had a question. So at this point, you're not sure if you're going to completely remove the concrete stucco or not? Did I hear that correctly?
Oh, on the existing Adobe that we're adding the CMU, we wanted to remove the existing concrete stucco because it's in parts that's peeling away and separated and crumbling, and so we want to pull that back and just give. And when we add the new bond beam and the new parapet, give it a new something that ties it all together.
And that's the only one you're doing that to, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clarification. Cool. Thank you.
We will have, sorry, to touch on that. If the demolition of that frame enclosed porches are approved, we do have patches on the original structure that we'll have to take into consideration.
Okay, but those would just be the same material as already is existing.
Yeah, match existing.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Are we ready for a motion? And is there someone willing to make a motion or ready to?
I'm ready and able.
Great.
That works for everyone. Okay. All right, on the matter of HPZ 22017 at 492 South Convent Avenue, I move to recommend approval of the project as presented, with the inclusion for the middle Adobe addition to provide a distinct texture to differentiate the additions over time from the original, and approval of the reduced setbacks proposed.
A second?
This is Ricky. I'll second.
Great. Any other discussion, or are we ready to vote? Savannah?
Aye.
Ricky?
Aye.
Joel?
Yes.
Jan, yes. Motion passes 4-0, and Jody can walk you through next steps for moving through the permitting process.
So we
Okay.
will, we will forward both the recommendations from Barrio Historico and PRS to the director, and he will issue a decision letter. From the date of the decision letter, you'll have a 14-day appeal period. During that 14-day appeal period, you can appeal, the applicant can appeal, the applicant can appeal, or the homeowner can appeal, sorry. PRS can appeal, or Barrio Historico can appeal. If there is an appeal, there's a fee associated with it, and it will be docketed on the mayor and council agenda for them to either uphold the appeal or not. If there are no appeals, once the appeal period is expired, then you can submit the revised plans per the conditions on the decision letter and finish out your permit.
Perfect. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for a clear presentation. Really helps.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you all.
Bye-bye. Okay, moving on is the task force on inclusivity report recommendations. Ricky, I don't know if you have an update or anything for today.
We do not, unless Jody, have you gotten any responses from the other one that was sent out?
I have not.
Okay. So we had sent out some emails that stated it was a very, very like still rough draft, and we're waiting on responses from that still.
Okay. Great, thank you. Then current issues, number 5, current issues for information and discussion. 5A, minor reviews. Any updates there?
There was a minor review on the 9th in West University. Let's see. Oh, it was for a fence. and a window replacement. Joel participated in that. Did you want to give an update, Joel?
Yeah, sure. Is that the,
Lance Lindsay?
yeah, the 311 East Fifth? Yeah. Yeah, what happened there was that when we began to do the review, the presenter and the owner began to add on some issues they had hoped to take care of. And so Michael said, well, why don't you're going to have to get kind of put these requests in paper. We just can't sort of have them come up orally, and that's in process, I believe, right now, that he's reducing the request to writing, and then we'll know whether to proceed or not on the minor review.
Thank you. 5B, any appeals, Jody?
No, we do not have any pending appeals.
Yay. 5C, zoning violations.
We're still continuing to work with property owners, but we don't have any that have been issued, and no citations or NOVs recently.
Okay, thank you. And then did anybody have any review process issues to discuss or bring up or questions?
I will let you know that we are now putting our recordings on the PTSD website, the YouTube channel that we have. So if you want to go back and listen to any of the recordings, we've started doing it for the last several meetings. It's on the same page that you find the agenda and associated materials. You get a link to the YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, item 6, summary of public comments. Any comments received?
We have not received any comments.
Okay. And future agenda items for upcoming meetings. It looks like we're scheduled for the 14th of July.
We are scheduled for the 14th of July. We will have an IID project, the Ugly But Honest project. It's right there at 5 Points. It's the gas station there that they're proposing to make into I think it's a pizza place. And then that's the one that's probably pending the most. We will potentially have some from the other historic districts.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that, I think we're ready to adjourn unless I missed something. And it is.
May I ask a question? This is Joel. Just a calendar question. Our next meeting is the 14th of July.
Correct.
And when is the next full commission meeting? Does anybody know that offhand?
The next full commission meeting is the 13th. The full commission is always the second Wednesday of the month.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
And I have to, which reminds me as I look at my calendar, I do have to send out a calendar invite for the 14th. But sometimes PRS, or not PRS, Zoom is persnickety, and they'll throw an invalid meeting to me.
Nice. Okay, I think that does it. That's Jody, we did it. We held it to less than an hour and then some. That's great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks for
Bye.
coming on this odd day. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
No problem. Bye, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
You too.